The early autumn light filtered through the lace curtains of my farmhouse in Scarneat Lees, New York, casting soft shadows across the worn pine floor. I'm Margaret, a 62-year-old widow who'd poured 40 years into this land, 40 acres of rolling fields, a legacy from my parents that I'd tended with love. The kitchen, with its old wood stove and chipped enamel sink, was the heart of my home, where I'd baked pies for neighbours and raised my son, Daniel. Tonight, though, the air felt heavy, tainted by a suspicion that clung like damp leaves. The mantel clock, a gift from my late mother, ticked with a relentless cadence, each second a jab at my unravelling peace. My husband, Tom, had just stumbled in from another supply run to Syracuse, 25 miles away, his denim jacket slung over his shoulder, his boots caked with mud. At 64, he still had that farmer's grit, broad hands, a weathered grin that once warmed my heart, but tonight his eyes dodged mine. His movements heavy with something more than exhaustion. A faint scent trailed him, not the earth and pine of our fields, but something sweet, floral, like lilac. It wasn't mine. "Long day, Maggie," he muttered, collapsing onto the rocking chair without kicking off his boots. The scent lingered, an intruder in our home, knotting my stomach. I tidied up, a habit from 38 years of marriage, gathering his keys, wallet, and phone from the kitchen table. His phone screen glowed, an email notification. Tom always said, "Maggie, emails for city folks." I'd rather talk. Yet there it was, from lilacdream44@gmail.com. "You were fire tonight, Pops." Pops. My heart lurched. Tom was only Pops to Daniel. I glanced at the bedroom, where his snores had begun. A mocking rhythm. With trembling fingers, I opened the email. 4 words. "You were fire tonight." A purple heart emoji pierced my chest. Who was this? Why so intimate? I scrolled for more, but the inbox was sterile, suspiciously clean. My mind raced. Tom's trips to Syracuse had multiplied. Hardware store runs, when he'd always hated the drive. I set the phone down, hands shaking, and checked his jacket pockets. A crumpled receipt from the Brewster Inn, Syracuse, $150, party of 2, Cabernet, steak, salmon pasta. Dated tonight. He'd told me he was in Auburn. The wine was the one we'd shared on our 30th anniversary, a memory now sour. Who was he dining with? I snapped a photo of the receipt, my pulse hammering, and slipped into the barn where Tom parked his pickup. The truck was still warm, reeking of gasoline and that lilac scent. My flashlight swept the driver's seat. Loose change, a seed catalog. In the glove compartment, my fingers grazed something plastic. A used tube of personal lubricant, cap loose. Residue dried on the edge. My breath caught. Tom and I hadn't been intimate in years. He'd blamed age, his bad hip, too tired from the fields. So what was this? I photographed it, hands trembling, and tucked it back precisely. Under the passenger seat, I found napkins, crumpled, soaked in that lilac perfume. Not my rosewater. I snapped more photos, each click a nail in the coffin of my trust. Back in the kitchen, I sat, staring at my phone's gallery. The email, the receipt, the lubricant, the napkins. My intuition, honed by decades as a wife and mother, screamed betrayal. But with who? And why Pops? I checked his messages. Dry farm supply texts, nothing else. His email was too clean, like he'd erased his tracks. The clock's ticking taunted me, the farmhouse's silence suffocating. I didn't sleep, my mind a storm of questions. Morning came, and I played the dutiful wife. Tom shuffled in, grabbing coffee. "Big order in Syracuse today, Maggie," he said, eyes on his mug. Might be late, his tone was rehearsed, casual. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Be safe," I said. But inside, I was screaming, "Who are you meeting?" He patted my shoulder, a hollow gesture, and left. The door's slam echoed like a betrayal. I couldn't wait. I needed answers. I called my neighbour, Ellen, who'd used a private investigator after her divorce. "Margaret, you okay?" she asked, hearing my tremor. "I need that PI's number," I said. "Tom's hiding something." She texted me Jake Morris, PI, 3115 555 0182, discreet. I called Jake, my voice unsteady. "Mrs. Hayes, send me what you've got," he said, calm but firm. "I'll start today." I emailed the photos, receipt, lubricant, napkins, email screenshot, and waited, my heart a drumbeat of dread. At noon, I met Jake at a diner in Scaneatlis. Its wooden booths and coffee aroma a stark contrast to my turmoil. Jake was late 40s, wiry, with eyes that saw through lies. "This looks bad, Margaret," he said, reviewing my evidence. "I'll tail him tonight. Stay calm. Don't tip him off." I nodded, throat tight. "I need the truth," I whispered. He gave a reassuring nod and left. I sat, sipping tea, feeling like a ghost in my own life. 38 years of marriage, raising Daniel, tending the farm. Had it all been a lie? That night, I baked pies, the rhythm of rolling dough failing to soothe me. At 10 p.m, Jake's message came. A photo. Tom, in his flannel shirt, entering a Syracuse restaurant, hand in hand with a woman. I zoomed in, and my world shattered. It was Sarah, my 29-year-old daughter-in-law, Daniel's wife. Her green dress clung to her, blonde hair loose, lips painted red. They looked like lovers, not in-laws. Another photo showed them at a candlelit table, her hand on his smile tender. A look he hadn't given me in years. A video followed, Sarah whispering in Tom's ear, him chuckling, a sound so warm it cut me. They left, his arm around her, heading to his truck. I collapsed onto a kitchen chair, chest tight. Sarah, who I'd taught to make my mother's apple pie, who I'd welcomed like a daughter. At family harvests, she and Tom barely spoke. Daniel joked, "Sarah thinks Dad's too grumpy." It was a performance, a cruel act. My son's wife and my husband. How long? Why? Jake's next message hit at 1 a.m. They're at the Marriott Syracuse. Room booked. More coming. Photos showed them on a balcony. Tom's arm around Sarah, her head on his chest. A brief kiss, fleeting but devastating. I replayed it, each frame a wound. Tom's gentle touch, the way he brushed her hair, gestures he'd once saved for me. I saved everything to a flash drive, hands shaking. The farmhouse's silence was oppressive, the lilac scent outside mocking me. Morning brought worse. Jake's photos showed Tom and Sarah leaving a lawyer's office in Syracuse. Her in a tailored blazer, him holding a folder labeled Hayes Farm Trust. A video caught them in his truck, Sarah marking papers, Tom nodding. Jake's note, "They're planning to inherit your farm through a forged will." Mentioned a notary contact. My fam, my parents' legacy, where Daniel learned to drive a tractor, was their target. They weren't just cheating, they were stealing my past. I sat in the kitchen, the clock ticking like a heartbeat. Tom had never planted crops or mended fences, but he'd smiled at harvest festivals, posing as the proud farmer. Now he and Sarah wanted my land. My rage hardened, cold and sharp. I wouldn't let them win. At dinner, Tom was chatty, oblivious. "Big sale, Maggie. Might need you to sign some farm papers. Tax stuff." His smile was too smooth. I heard Sarah's voice in my head. "Hurry with the fake will." I nodded, playing along. "Sure, I'll check them." He relaxed, sipping beer, unaware I was plotting. That night, his keys sat on the nightstand, his snores loud. I crept to the barn, heart racing. The truck smelled of lilac and gasoline. The lubricant tube was there, freshly used. My stomach churned, but I stayed focused. I took it to the kitchen, scrubbed my hands with lemon soap, and grabbed industrial superglue from the toolbox. Used for fixing barn tools. I emptied the lubricant, filled it with glue, shook it to match the texture, and tested a drop. Seamless. I placed it back, wiped my prints, and adjusted the seat. In the trunk, I found more napkins, reeking of lilac, and a hotel keycard. I photographed everything, my evidence mounting. I set the fire trap. A skillet with oil, a string tied to the stove's igniter. Run to the back window for remote pulling. A test produced thick smoke, enough to alarm neighbors without damage. I hid a voice recorder behind a photo frame in our bedroom. Daniel's wedding picture, bitter now. It would catch every word. Next morning, I told Tom, I'm going to Auburn for a farmer's market. Back late. His eyes gleamed. Relief, not concern. Enjoy, Maggie, he said, kissing my cheek. I smiled, but inside, I was steel. Instead of Auburn, I went to my neighbor Ruth's house across the road. A retired baker who'd always been kind. Margaret, something wrong? She asked, seeing my bag. Just need to watch the house, I said. She nodded, offering tea and a window view. At 9 a.m., Sarah arrived in a cab, wearing sunglasses and a tight dress. Tom ushered her in, checking the road. I activated the recorder app, headphones in. Their laughter echoed, glasses clinked. Tom's voice. No hotel today, Sarah. Maggie's gone. Sarah giggled. Finally, no old hag watching. Old hag. My blood boiled, but I waited. The bed creaked, sounds I blocked out. Then Sarah's scream. We're stuck. What's this? Tom cursed. Hold still. I pulled the string via my phone. The skillet ignited, smoke pouring out the kitchen window. Ruth gasped. Margaret, your house. Neighbors gathered, shouting, Call 911. Mr. Walsh dialed the fire department. I feigned panic, my heart steady. The recorder caught Sarah sobbing. Do something, Tom. He growled, I'm trying. Sirens wailed. Daniel, my son, leapt from the fire truck in his chief's uniform, face grim. Possible occupants, he shouted, leading his team. They broke the door, hoses ready. Danielle's voice cracked through the recorder. Dad? Sarah, what the hell? A firefighter muttered, Good Lord. Another choked a laugh. Daniel roared, Quiet! The smoke was doused, just oil, but the bedroom was chaos. Tom and Sarah, stuck together, wrapped in sheets, were carried out on stretchers. Sarah crying, Tom pleading, Cover us! Neighbors filmed, phones out. That's Margaret's husband with her daughter-in-law. Mrs. Carter gasped. Poor Margaret. Ruth recorded, whispering, You planned this, didn't you? I nodded, silent. Daniel emerged, face ashen, eyes broken. I wanted to hold him, but stayed put, letting the truth burn. At the hospital, I played the shocked widow. A doctor said, Mrs. Hayes, they're separated. Minor irritation. I nodded, swapping their ointment with mustard from my bag. A final sting. Minutes later, Sarah screamed, It burns! Tom cursed. What is this crap? Nurses rushed in. Patients stared. A man whispered, That's the affair couple from the viral video. Ruth's footage had spread, the village buzzing. Daniel brought the envelope I'd hidden. Photos, videos, audio, divorce papers. I handed them to Tom and Sarah, bedridden, humiliated. Sign, I said, voice cold. You're done. Sarah sobbed. Daniel, I'm sorry. He walked out silent. Tom pleaded, Maggie, let's talk. I cut him off. 38 years ends here. I left, Daniel's hand in mine, his pain mine. Weeks later, my farm was safe. The forgery exposed. Tom and Sarah faced fraud charges. The viral video ruined Tom's reputation, forcing him to leave town. I sold the farm for profit, moving to a smaller cottage with Daniel. I joined a gardening club, planting roses, reclaiming my scent. Daniel helped, his smile returning. The village rallied, calling me a survivor. My home, My son, my life, mine again. Life Solver's lesson. At Life Solver, we share stories of resilience. Margaret's revenge exposed a cruel betrayal, saving her farm and dignity. Infidelity affects 20% of marriages, often tied to financial schemes. Margaret's $150 receipt and a lubricant tube led to justice. What would you do? Share your city and thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and join Life Solver for more stories that inspire. Support us with a super thanks to keep these tales coming. See you next time.